Shubharam, I'll start my review with the first ever review, or I will not call it review, I'll call it my experience. So I went to Udaipur from the 21st to 26th of December 25, and I stayed at various places. So, but this review is limited to the place where I stayed in Udaipur. Technically, it was not Udaipur. That place where I stayed was approximately 20-21 kilometers away from Udaipur. The place is called Sayaji Resort Spa, and I stayed in this property from 24 to 26th of December, and I was with my wife. And so I just divide this review into broader buckets so that it becomes easy to kind of get the takeaways, right? So first I will be talking about the location and the accessibility. So this property is located approximately 21 kilometers from the city center. So city center I'm calling, I've just calculated the distance from City Palace, right? Which is very well known place in Udaipur. So it is approximately 21 kilometers from there. And regarding the route, how I experienced, so I was traveling from the main city to this property. So mostly the route was fine, but the last 20% of the route was very bad because though this property is located on a highway, but before coming to the highway, you have to kind of get to a very bad stretch of road where other properties are also located, like Fairmont, and some other properties are also located. That area was very bad, and what our cab driver told us, कि यार ये area बहुत time से ऐसे ही है. So just expect that when you kind of travel from the city to this property. Talking about the surroundings of the property itself, though it is located in the highway, so as कोई problem नहीं है, easily locate कर पाओगे. In terms of the accessibility, you have to have your own vehicle. You can rely on Uber and Ola, but Uber and Ola is very badly serviced here because this is very far away, so extra charge करेंगे ही करेंगे. Just from experience, so if Uber would show you 300-400 bucks from this property to the city palace, the driver would not go with that price, right? He will demand 200-300 extra. So I actually went through a cab, but that cab was still the property itself. So from the property, when I had to travel, I have to book a Uber, and then approximately 600, 500-600 rupees वो लेते हैं minimum. ये minimum है, इससे ऊपर ही लेंगे. So transport wise, you are on your own. If you have a cab rented, then it's good. But if you don't have your vehicle, then you are stuck, right? Because this property के आसपास कुछ भी नहीं है, it's far away, right? Nobody wants to travel to that property. So ये हो गया location accessibility. Now coming on to the check-in and the first impressions that I have on the property. From the car, everything looks good, right? But when you step out and then walk into the reception, then the story unfolds. So जैसे रिसेप्शन पे गया तो देयर वाज अ गाय हु वाज एक्चुअली प्लेइंग एन इंस्ट्रूमेंट, साथ में बैठा हुआ था वो रिसेप्शन के बाहर ही. तो ही वेलकम्ड अस एंड वी वेंट इन द प्रॉपर्टी, वेंट टू द रिसेप्शन. आई वाज एक्चुअली क्लियरिंग माय ड्यूज. माय वाइफ वाज एक्चुअली on the reception looking to kind of get the formalities done, right? The check-in formalities. So approximately we arrived at this property around 3:45 p.m. and usually the check-in time is 2 p.m., right? And one would expect that you get the rooms as like you go in and you get the rooms in 5 minutes. But that was not the case. उसने 20-30 minutes I think wait करवाया, and no one offered us welcome drink. You could see the welcome drink lying there, right? But no one cared to even offer that. And after 25-30 minutes I got to the lady and asked her कि what is taking so long, right? तो बोली सर अभी होने वाला है ये वो. Then also the things were not moving, right? ये जब की बात है जब मेरी वाइफ ऑलरेडी वहाँ बैठी हुई थी, एंड मैं तो देन मैंने उनको बोला कि there was a lady, I told her that okay I want to speak to your manager, but का रूम साफ दिख रहा है, but nobody was entertaining me. बोल रही थी शायद मैनेजर होंगे. Luckily that manager was coming out of that room, तो मैंने उनको पकड़ के एंड आई एक्चुअली मैंने उनको बोला कि क्या हो रहा है. तो उसने अपनी कुछ आई थिंक ही काइंड ऑफ एक्नॉलेज दैट, एंड उसने कुछ फ्रंट ऑफिस में पर्सन वो सिटिंग देयर सोच बोला, एंड देन समहाउ दे गॉट द की, एंड देन हमारा सब सेट हो गया, एंड देन यू हैव टू गो टू योर रूम थ्रू दैट गोल्फ कार्ट. तो हम गए वहाँ पे. सो आई थिंक व्हाट वी वाज अ बेस रूम, बट somehow they upgraded, but there's a story around that also. So I would say surprising, right? But it was a shock because the lady kind of not very in a good tone से आपका रूम तो बेसिक था, but हमने अपग्रेड कर दिया है, आपका इसमें देखो बालकनी भी है. So that was not a very good gesture on their part to kind of say, like if you're telling a good thing to a customer, so you need to kind of have that tone, but that wasn't the case. तो ऐसा हुआ, and then वो दो के हमारे खुश होना चाहिए था, but फिर भी ऐसा लगा कि यार in the first impressions. The staff behavior was not at all at par according to me, and having stayed on similar properties or even better properties, I think that if we are calling themselves as 5-star property, so staff behavior had to be a notch above, right? That was not the case. So welcoming भी नहीं लगा, and then that lady particularly was not very welcoming, and then वैसे vibe नहीं आया. Normally you get a vibe, right, when you enter these good luxury properties, but I didn't get that vibe, and neither my wife did. So वो था एक. Talking about the room experience, so room was big in size, though they upgraded us. But usually, what happens is that in a hotel, the layout I like is that you enter and you have a washroom. There's a corridor, you have a washroom, and then you have the room, right? That was not the case in this property. In the room I stayed in, so वो ऐसा था कि enter करा, and then there was a bed to the left, and to the right there was empty space, a vast empty space. I'm still not, I don't still not know why that space was there, because if you have, let's say, a big bed, you have some furniture on the right and the left, but left में I think couch रखा हुआ था उन्होंने, right में नहीं रखा हुआ था. Sorry, I don't have the videos and photos because I didn't plan that I will start this channel and I will post reviews. So currently I just have all verbal information that I can share. But yeah, this was a valid travel. I can share my document. The Agoda bookings kind of validated this, but I'm just sharing my experience, and I think going forward I'll also record some of the footage and then probably can post, right? So initial impressions, a room was big sized, furniture का proportion नहीं समझ में. Then there was no the complimentary tea, coffee, all those sachets that you get. They were empty, right? It was not there. In the washroom also, the shampoo bottles and all were missing, right? So we had to call to the housekeeping to get those. So that was something that we expected. Okay. And then in terms of the cleanliness, I don't have any major concerns. One thing was that when we were entering that room, so you go through a golf cart and the golf cart stops, and it's kind of an apartment, right? Many of you might have lived in some apartments where 2 rooms are on top and 2 rooms are on the first floor, something like that kind of a setup, right? So उसका जो feel था वो बेस थोड़ा सा नीचे जाना पड़ा था उसके लिए. So it was, frankly, it looked like I'm entering into an apartment. It didn't feel like a villa, right? And I'm sure that doesn't have to do with the architecture itself, but somehow that vibe was missing. I'm talking about the vibe, that because उस प्रॉपर्टी में इतना vibe नहीं आया मेरे को. ठीक है, तो ये था. तो रूम में then talking about cleanliness, it was okay. Bed comfort and linen quality was also fine. Toiletries नहीं थी, थोड़ी बहुत वो हमें मंगाना पड़ा. Talking about the washroom, because whenever I book a property, I'll first look the washroom images, right? That is very critical for me. So in terms of the size, it was good. Cleanliness also good. The interior was good. More importantly, that get spray, right? That you get in the toilet area, right? That is very critical for me to have a very good pressure in that. Otherwise, पूरे दिन ऐसा लगे satisfaction नहीं मिला. If you know what I'm talking about, you know, right? So that was good, and shower experience was also good. So no major concerns on the washroom, just that toiletries were missing and all. So that was the washroom experience. Now talking about other experience, so obviously there was no major concerns on the storage, charging points, and lighting. Everything was fine, right? So we stayed there for 2 days, and it was for 24 to 26. So it was a Christmas period also, right? So the usual vibe you expect is that कुछ एक vibe होता है Christmas time पे. Dead scene there, right? It was a pool. No one was actually even, they didn't have chairs around that, so people could sit and relax, right? Pool was also not very clean, right? They had a jacuzzi just to the side of the pool, and that was also not clean, though it had warm water. Obviously jacuzzis are meant for that, but still it was not very clean, and it was a dead scene, right? No one was, they had zero presence there. No one was actually there. And yeah, so gym, spa was there. My wife actually inquired on the rates. So we usually, what we do is that we call up the spa and ask for any discounts or any offers that they might have, right? So they straight away said that okay, you have to talk to the reception, right? So they also were not very welcoming in terms of inquiries. So we didn't care to go to the spa, right? We didn't visit the spa. So that was all. The one good part that I liked about this property was the games area, right? So we have a very good cricket area where it's covered, right, with the net, and they also have pickleball there, and you can also play badminton and stuff. So that was good, and you can actually spend time there. Now the downside of that is that you have to have a golf cart to kind of take you there, right? The golf cart doesn't stay with you, so it will kind of drop you and then come back. So there was a phone that was actually installed there to call up the golf cart, and so we called the reception twice or thrice, but after an interval of 15-20 minutes, still there was no response. No one came to pick us up. So at the end, it was actually 7:30. It was going dark, so we had to kind of walk our way towards the reception. So again, as I told, service is pathetic, right? In this, no one bothers to pick your phones, or they don't have accountability at all. The service staff was not very good. So we had to walk the way, and then again, my wife kind of told the lady sitting at the reception, and then again the same lame excuse, okay, we forgot, apologies and all. But yeah, that was one part that was actually good, but they still spoiled it, the holy stuff, because they actually, I think they like to do that. Regarding parking area and all, I think it's sorted. We came by our cab, but we saw ample parking space. To me, this property seems to have some potential. Obviously, it's very far away, but some people who are looking at off-grid locations and a weekend getaway, who have their personal vehicles, probably can actually look to stay. So it's fine. Coming on to the food and beverage experience, so we just happened to, on the day that we arrived on 24th, we actually went to the restaurant. They have just one restaurant, and we just ordered one platter, which actually costed us around 1100 bucks. So it had the kebabs and paneer and all. So the taste was good. It's, according to me, it was average and above average only. But there also they actually did something. They didn't prepare one item properly. So but they were courteous enough to kind of change that. So the attitude of the restaurant staff was way better than the other staff that was actually in the hotel. By the way, I've posted the real review on the Google Maps also in the name of this property. You can actually look at that. More or less, it's a similar review, but I just thought that I will just also tell you in detail how this property kind of fares well, right? So food quality was good. Breakfast also, the next day, the next 2 days we had breakfast also included in our package. So breakfast spread was very good, and the items were, they had like counters of dosa and all. Usually what we have in all the properties. They also had some local dishes like samosa, kachori, and all of that. So it was actually good, and the staff was courteous. And even one of the days, my wife was not feeling well, so they were kind enough to send the items to the room, and it was very fast service, right? So this is a positive that this property has. The restaurant staff is good, according to me. Now I'll talk about the amount that I spent here to for 2 days, right? So I spent a total of 14,470 rupees. I booked the property through Agoda, and on Agoda, I was actually, this was not my first choice. I was actually looking to book some other property in the city, but somehow due to the season, the properties were very inflated, right? So this was one property where still had like 7,500 kind of a range. And trust me, if you kind of track the prices over a period of time, then I think this property can also be purchased at a price of 6,000, right, per night. And though they were actually at the start, they were actually trading at like 10,000 or 11,000, right? But according to me, the true value of this property, if you get in that price range, I think 6 to 8,000. I think 8,000 is the upper limit. Like 7,000 also, if you're getting, it's fine, but not beyond 8,000. Probably once they kind of do some good bits around this property, they revamp or they add more, they add good stuff, right? That is the biggest downside now. They don't have good stuff. But according to me, a good budget for this property would be, let's say, somewhere of 7 to 8,000, given that its location is very inaccessible. And obviously, one thing to add around the location part, so you don't have your regular network working there, because this property is in way away from the city limit. So you are on the Wi-Fi, so you rely only on Wi-Fi. You don't have your phone working. Even if they went with there in that hilltop where we have the activities, the phone was not working, right? So that's a drawback. Somewhere the network might come, but for us, we had Airtel. Both of us had Airtel SIMs, so it was not working. So just be prepared for that. You are on the Wi-Fi. Also on the service quality, I want to add that on one of the days the light went off of our room. It was morning, right? And my wife kind of called the reception, and then that lady acknowledged they sent someone. He was not very aware of where the MC and all those kind of things are, the meter box. So he called another person who knew that. So it's wasted around 1 or 2 hours, right? And usually what we expect is that in this kind of scenario, that was the day when we had to check out, and our sleep was actually disturbed because of this. And then on the checkout, usually checkouts are around 12 if you're checking in at around 2, but here it is at 11 a.m., right? So obviously you are running 1 or 2 hours behind schedule. Even if you're not running behind schedule, the properties are very kind enough to allow you 1 extra 1 hour. Nobody says anything, right? But these people were actually, that lady only called my wife and told that, oh, ma'am, check out kab kar rahe ho? And it was around 10:55. Though I understand that they might have check-ins, but your check-in is also at 2. So why are you bothering? You have 3 hours won't be enough for the housekeeping staff to make up the room, or But yeah, that was the scenario. And again, this is something that is missing in the DNA of this staff. They don't know how to kind of service, or they don't know customer service, right? And that actually pissed me off. And though we actually didn't make a issue out of it, I know that I would post it somewhere else, or I know that they guys were not care to kind of. But again, my wife actually asked for a feedback form. They were actually shying away from sharing that. One of the ladies, that lady which was actually not welcoming, I called it Lady X in that review also. So that lady actually was hiding her name back so that I can't actually escalate that. But so these kind of things were there, right? So if you coming to the property, just be prepared for not so welcoming staff. I know my view and some other views might also entice the leadership to kind of improve the ways of working, but yeah, this is the case. You might not actually get a good service, right? Though it has potential, the rooms are newly built and everything is new, but still, one is the service quality, second is the vibe. I didn't feel the vibe, and it was in Christmas time, right? So you can imagine, if normal scenario, you'll not feel any vibe. Okay, obviously they might improve, God knows, right? So yeah, so that was pretty much I want to cover. So at the end, I would just like to summarize. So if you are looking for a property which is offbeat, and you're okay to compromise on some bit of the service part, you know that there might be some delays, and you're okay with all of that, then you can still look to book. But given my experience, I would not strongly recommend. I would probably not recommend booking this property. There are many properties that are actually sitting in right in Udaipur, some kilometers away from Udaipur, right, which might offer better value at the same price. So just explore those properties as well, because I actually experience, and I'm just kind of sharing my experience. So if this is my experience, the same experience can be repeated. But again, there's nothing against the property, nothing against anyone, any staff for the property. It's just my personal experience, and it might improve. Property might improve in the days to come, and probably I might also revisit. I'm not sure, but in the near future I'll not, because I want to explore something around the city only. Yeah. So yeah, that is pretty much my review. Thanks for joining in, and in case you like this review, and if you have any suggestions or any experiences that you want to share of this property, please feel to drop in the comments and subscribe and share this video to people who might be kind of traveling to Udaipur and might be considering this property, right?